Alright, I got the board all mounted. Except, oops, it's upside down. It is the shenanigander way. There's always got to be something. So, time to undo and redo. I'm Mike Dimas, and this is Pinball Shenanigans. Alright, back in the basement for some more big game action. When you weren't looking, I took the liberty of vacuuming the cabinet out and removing the entire bottom board, which is now on the quote-unquote bench, where I can get good access to this power supply, which, if you watched the first episode, you would have seen just how bad this was and is. It is definitely in need of being replaced. We got hacked on connectors, hacked on fuse breakers, burnt up connectors, and 2 missing resistors. And also, I was missing the middle screw to the heat sink, and this looks like it has possibly been replaced, and possibly that one too. So it's time. And I didn't actually have one in stock, a new power supply, but I was talking to my buddy Corey Cook at London Pinball, and he happened to have one. So he bought a couple from Weebly, nvram.weebly.com, and I guess you can buy these unassembled for about $30 US. So Corey had bought a couple, assembled this one, and was, kind enough to sell it to me. So he's local, and now I have a power supply I can work with instead of having to wait and order from wherever. So that is Corey Cook at londonpinball.ca. If you need anything done locally or surrounding areas, your pinball repaired, you want to fold a machine, you want to move a machine, you want to buy one, sell one, contact him. He'll help you with all your pinball needs, especially repairing solid states and EMs. That's kind of his specialty. Anyway, so I've got this. So that ball is going to start rolling today. And, I noticed on my big game that there's these 2 ball guides. And sometimes for tournaments they remove these. So there's just a gap here for the ball to go down and make it more difficult. Which is like one that Andy Rosa ran in Michigan years ago, Snowball Open or something. They were missing. But at Cincinnati last year, Eric Wurtenberger, I think is the guy who runs it, he had them on there. And mine is missing one. So, got this hefty Red Robbie screw in there as well. Why is that? So I think this is a very common issue with the big games. So I went hunting for new guides, and they basically don't exist anywhere in the pinball websites. So I reached out to a guy named Cotton M4 on Pinside, who is a classic Stern enthusiast. Spoken with him before. I think we were talking Catacomb and or Sea Witch, and he pointed me in the direction of DJ Blau. I don't know if I'm saying that right. So this guy, I think, has made a bunch of these because they're in high demand for big game, and he makes real nice looking replicas. And it looks like 3 tabs instead of 2 tabs for extra security. And for $18 US plus shipping, that is a smoking deal, I thought. So I just placed my order. I paid today, and he said he's going to already ship today. So not only are they available and he makes them, but the price is very reasonable and he ships immediately. So those are on the way. And I also went to Kevin's on Saturday. We had a little birthday pinball tournament there. It was Kevin and Dutch's birthday weekend. And when I went there, I brought him my old beat-up lock bar, which I was checking my old notes, and when I did buy this big game, it was indeed missing the lock bar, and that lock bar is something that I bought somewhere for 50 bucks. And also, my notes say that I bought a playfield glass for 100 bucks. So I must have a playfield glass back in my pile somewhere. And it's probably labeled wide stern, maybe Gottlieb, stern wide body used. So there's my glass. I'll have to dig a little deep to get at that, but yeah, so that is, I was suspecting that for some reason that the lock bar didn't come with this game. Also, I was right about my spinner. When I said something about, I think I remember trading spinners with Bruce Nightingale, that is true. I think I gave him a regular stern one or a catacomb one, and he gave me one of these guys, so that did actually happen. Marco sells new pop bumper caps. I'm going to order them, and I may just order 4 complete flipper assemblies from Pinball Life. Instead of rebuilding them, I might just go the easier route, or you just replace the entire brackets. I mean, I'm going to think about that because it's expensive. It's basically going to cost me like 400 bucks to do that if I want to do it. And the flipper kits are, well, maybe a couple $100, so 50% more, which isn't that bad. But then I will also need to order the double stack and a stroke switches. This is, the bottom one should be single stack, and the top ones should be double stack. Is that right? It does look like single stack for lower. This coil is not moving, and it is not, I don't think that's correct either. It's supposed to be this style. Anyway, also cotton M4 recommended that I use coils with, it gave me like 475 windings for the hold. This is not the correct coil that's supposed to be here, I don't think. Actually, I'd have to double check that. But anyway, Cotton gave me a few recommendations. One was increasing the pitch of the machine, changing the coils to a certain part number that I think makes it a little more zippy and zappy. And there are LED boards that you can buy. Not LED boards, but new circuit boards that replace these old things that are flaky and hard to access. You want to change one bulb, you have to remove 4 screws. So you can buy a set of LED of circuit boards to replace those that convert all this to like the twist-in style bulbs. So that's food for thought as well. But I think that is all there is for the updates. By the way, that birthday tournament was fun, and we only broke like 1 machine. So maybe I'll throw a couple photos up at the end of the video. You can see a glimpse of Kevin's arcade in action. But for now, it is time to replace the power supply. So I'm just going to go about this like I normally do, 1 wire at a time. And last time I actually removed all this stuff from this bottom board and put it on the desk, and someone commented, hey, why don't you just remove the screws? You can take the whole bottom board out. So I learned, and there's 6 screws, so much easier than removing like this and this and this. Some of these, for whatever reason, oh, these are removed because someone was messing with the power supply before, but they didn't put their screws back, so I will replace those. And yeah, it's much easier to do it this way. Whoever suggested that last time, thank you, and I'm gonna get to work here, so I'll see you in a bit. Okay, I see what Cotton was saying about the flipper coils now. The manual calls for the lower flippers to be these 475-4500s. And stop twitching there, camera. And the upper flippers are calling for 500-5050s. So Cotton was basically saying, if you want faster action, change them all to the 475s. That way the upper flippers have the same strength and it'll just be a little bit faster and funkier game. And also you could potentially change the slingshots, he suggested, to 27-1200s, which less windings equals more power, and that's what the pop bumpers are. 1200 windings there, so that's another possibility as well. So you can tweak a little bit here and there. I mean, typically I stick with the factory suggestion, but I don't really see any harm in changing the upper flippers to 475 from 500. It's only an extra 25 windings, so it's a very, very small percentage of extra power. So I don't see that being a problem. And I was checking my, actually checking my knocker, making sure that's correct. 26-1200, and I believe that is what is on here. Yes, because this solder job here is not so good. So I'm gonna remedy that while I'm at it. But none of these coils are what the manual recommends. We got 25, 500, 34, 4500. So that is like a Bally part number. So I could just replace all these coils, maybe go with the whole flipper brackets at Pinball Life because they come with coils, and then I can just save these for whatever Bally machines need it. And then I have to order 4 new flipper bats, all the extra stacked end to stroke switches. Like, it's probably gonna cost like $450 if I go that route, but you know, it's gonna be worth it. I didn't spend a whole lot on this game because it was 6 years ago, so this machine can afford for me to sink a few bucks into it, which is gonna happen quick because, you know, LEDs, LED adapters, power supply, flipper parts, new plastic set, which I already spent, I don't remember how much on, the glass, $100, the lock bar, $50, the powder coating. I mean, it adds up quick, but that's okay. It, like I said, I can throw a few bucks at this. If I'm in for $1,000 or $1,500 when all is said and done, I would be happy. I'd be happy closer to 1,000, but we will see. Anyway, back to work, which I haven't actually started yet. All right, making progress. I cleaned up the bottom board with a cloth and polished up the bracket with some steel wool. No, green scrubby. I resoldered the knocker coil. That's much better now. And slowly starting on this guy here. Well, actually, it's going pretty well. 4 wires down so far. I used to dread doing these, but now that I've done a couple, it's really not a big deal. You just look at the yellow wire. You see that goes to E7. And then you find E7 on the board, which is right here, and solder away. And the other trick that I started doing now is when I cut the wire off, I leave a tiny bit of the wire color just in case I kind of like forget where I cut it from, or yeah, just lose track. Then I know, okay, this color wire should be E1, and then yeah. So, and then I try and slowly work from one side to the other, because as you can see, it gets a little tight. I cut off one of these zip ties to give myself a little more room. So now that I've done this top section, I think I'll just kind of go one at a time, maybe from here, because accessing it As this is the last one I need to do, then that's more accessible than if this is the last one I need to do. So I'll start here, work my way back. So that's E9. Where is E9, 12, 10? Anyway, you get the idea. Also, I noticed that they kind of hardwired this ground right to the board too on this particular hack/fix. And you can tell that the middle bridge was not replaced and the outside two bridges were replaced. And there's also a little jumper there for the connectors. So this board has gone through the ringer. So making progress. Alright, so I think I'm done, and that took me about 40 minutes, including recording and pretty much from start to finish, to do the soldering in general. I mean, it's not including removing the bottom board and cleaning up the bottom board and, you know, that kind of stuff, but all in all, about maybe half an hour, 40 minutes to do the actual transfer. So I'm pretty happy with how it looks. It's pretty tidy. All my wires on this side are kind of going the same way. I find if you solder the wires, kind of hold it flat to the board, it gives a little bit more surface. Like if the wire's touching the eyelet, it makes for better contact than if you just stick it in, you know, perpendicularly. So I actually, you know what, probably gonna have to go to the opposite side and add some solder here just for good measure. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. Almost forgot, but see how pretty this looks compared to this. We had extra connector and fuse breaker. Don't need the heat sink anymore. I've got new standoffs that came with the board, and then there's little screws that go through there, you know. And this had so 2 resistors missing, 2 bridges replaced. That fuse holder must have been over fused at some point, because that should never burn up like that. Burnt connectors, hacked on grounds, and there's another jumper I discovered. So 2 jumpers, all kinds of stuff that this board lived through. I'm gonna finally put it to rest for once and for all. Thank you for your service, power supply. Time for you to go bye-bye. And now I can attach this to the bottom board plate, power on the machine for the first time in 6 years, and measure some voltages. All right, there it is, all installed. 6 screws are back, and it's looking pretty fine if you ask me. Much better than it was. I'm not going to bother connecting the sound just yet, or the knocker, but this is power to the board. This, I believe, is power to the playfield. And on these boards, you got to remember, there's 9 pins, because some games use 9 pins, but this is only an 8-pin connector. It just looks like 9, or maybe it is actually 9, but this has been replaced. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, it is only 8 pins. So that other pin there is just not used on this game. I made that mistake before by putting all these wires on, but I had them over 1, so that yeah, they were all set over by 1, because that 9th pin tricked me. But not used in this game. Anyway, we've got this wire that's part of that equation that has had some electrical tape on it, and that is got to be remedied. So I probably will cut the wires back this far, because I do have quite a bit of leeway. So I should be able to cut off that amount of inches, like 4 inches, and still be okay. And the next thing I need to do is repin the connectors. This one looks original. Looks like a solder blob just kind of dropped on there once upon a time. It's still got the key in it. So that's probably okay, but I'm gonna repin it. This one has been replaced. We got some corrosion in there. The housing itself is probably fine. It's a little burnt on the one end. So we'll see. I may reuse it. I may get a new one. And then for the third connector, the big one on the bottom, J3, that comes from the head. And that's this guy here. Is where the modification / hack came from. Look at these wires, how burnt they are. I don't know what happened there, but they cut off those wires and then added this connector. And then that was the connector that was on the power supply hacked in. You can see that doesn't look too healthy. It's like soldered in there. Just in general, you can see why this game would probably have a multitude of problems if I tried to connect it as is. So, time to tidy this up, get rid of this, repin all 3 connectors, and then test some voltages. Alright, just getting started here. Pulled out my first pin and have a look. Let's see here if I can show you this. Now, that is not crimped on very well. Is definitely, you know, something that needs to be remedied. Whoever did that, they actually used a trifuricon terminal, which is good, but this is why I am repinning this connector. It's just some more hackage that I discovered. Okay, here's what the terminal should look like. The first part of the terminal has got to be crimped on the insulation. The second part of the terminal has to be crimped on the wire itself. And yeah, that's it. That's how it's supposed to look. So I'll just rinse and repeat that 20 times. Yeah, so I'm starting to see a theme here. But at least they soldered it, so that's a solid connection. It's just, you know, not the quote-unquote proper way to do things, so I'll fix that. Alright, so here's the graveyard. Every terminal was replaced, and all in the same fashion as the first couple that I showed you. And as you can see, these guys are in rough shape. So they have all been replaced. That guy is no longer part of the harness. And here is the finished product. I did reuse the housing, which is fine. The end one was just a little extra crispy, but it clicked in there okay, the terminal, so it should be fine. And I'm going to just double check all my wire colors, make sure they are in the right spot, because the guy who did this before could have easily put one in the wrong spot. So before I call this done, I'm going to check all the wire colors, and then I'll probably take a little break before doing these guys. My back's getting a little sore, even doing that on the bench. So my back needs a little break, and then I gotta, well, this guy here I don't have to hunch too much, but this guy here I'll have to hunch over a bit unless I want to undo a bunch of crap, which I don't. It's not a big deal. This one's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wires. So this guy, it's 5. So 12 wires away from being done. But I'll check some wire colors, take a break, and I'll see you in a bit. Alright, here's the part of the schematic that shows my wire colors. This is transformer schematic general use, so it's not necessarily specific to this game, but most of these games were wired the same, so it should be accurate. Again, it's the J3 connector, which goes to the back box. Alright, so we got to look up pin 1 says green, pin 2 is white, pin 3 is red-brown, and let's see how we're doing here. We got green, white, and I can assume that's red-black, not brown. Red-black. So, off to a good start. Pin 4 is white-red. That checks out. Pin 5 is gray. That looks good. Pin 6 should be blue. Yeah, I get that. Alright, we're on track. I'll do the rest of this off camera. But that is how you confirm your wire colors. I'm back. So I'm just sitting here talking on the phone to my mother and taking a look over at this stuff. I'm like, these dents I gotta remedy. Gotta put in a new lock. Obviously I wasn't paying attention to what my mother was saying too well. And then I did this. And guess what fell out? 1/4. The tradition continues after all. Unless we're going to try this live with the other one and see if anything comes out. Nope. That's it. So far. 1/4. I got to keep that streak alive. I don't know why. But I gotta. Oh, and just for fun, I was checking the dates on these coins, and the quarter is 1983. No, 2. And the penny is 1983, so Big Game came out in 1980. So how long was this penny and this quarter in the machine for, huh? Who knows? Okay, by the way, my J3 connector wires were all in the right places, so that is good. So I moved on to J1 playfield connector, and 1 is red, 8 is white, so those are the two ends. And I had 2 exact blue wires. I'm like, why? I got a blue, and a blue-white. So I see that pin 7 is blue, is feature lamp bus, and pin 3 is also feature lamp bus. So that explains where the second blue wire comes from, because they appear to be connected, so I don't think it matters which blue wire goes where. So I had a little bit of confusion before I figured that out and checked out the schematics. Both are 5.4 volts, so that'll be for all the insert lighting. And then pin 6 is blue-white, and that's it. I covered them all. 1 and 8, white, red. Then we got blue, blue, and then blue, white. And then key, I got to stick a key in number 4. Oh, also, this connector, I don't know how they repinned the whole thing, but the key is missing. So I need a key in number 7 pin and number 4 pin. But this is what the finished product looks like. There's the graveyard. I did cut back the wires quite a bit just to get rid of this, and I had the extra slack to do it. And there we go. Pin 1 is red, pin 8 is white. Then we got pin 3 and 7, insert lighting are blue, and then the blue-white in pin 6. So that's going to go there. Oh, and I trimmed the edge of this connector, which was, a little bit sloppy. So now can see that that pin is not used a little more clearly. So I'll mark this connector as repinned and put the key in there so you can't put it in incorrectly. So one more connector to go. This guy here, which doesn't look like it has been tampered with at all. So, and then we can turn this bad boy on. Okay, I just got an update from Kevin on my lock bar that he is tidying up for me because it was banged up, bruised, and battered. And here is kind of a photo of, I don't know how well you can see that, but he's been doing some welding there. Oh, that is the middle of the lock bar there. That's the seam, I believe. Yep. And then there's some more patches, some straightening, some welding, some patches. Here's kind of a close-up of the seam. And he uttered that this lock bar is a piece of shit, which was kind of worse than I thought initially. But here is the finished product on half. It looks friggin' perfect. So it's going to be seamless and smooth, and then going to get all powder coated orange. So that is the lock bar update. Okay, I stuck in the little keys in J1 and J3 connectors and finished repinning J2. The schematic here, it doesn't match up to the same colors that I have on this connector. So I reached out to Cotton M4, I believe it is. Where is it? Here, Cotton M4. And I've been chatting with him a bit. He's been giving me some cool suggestions. And I asked him if he could let me know if his J2 connector matched up to mine on his big game. And within like 10-15 minutes, boom, he replied and said it is correct. And basically said, and yes, you just discovered another stern screw up where the actual wiring is not called correctly. That will be something else that needs corrected. But if your big game is like mine, you'll have 4 wires in the playfield that do not match the drawing. The drawing called for purple black, and I have brown black as one example. Yeah, so I had several examples as well. Like, for example, let's see. AC power pin 10 says green. And pin 10 here is actually green. So maybe that's not an example. But I think that we're ready to plug this guy in. Here is what it looks like. Throw in my light here. So yeah, so like for example, this blue, I think it says it's supposed to be some completely different color, but you know, when Stern runs out of a wire color in the factory, they just go with something different. So not all schematics match up to what they say they're going to be. Anyway, this is the power. We are connected. We don't need to connect the back box or the playfield just yet. So we're going to go live here and turn this thing on and hope to not blow up anything. Okay, here's the other problem, is I don't know whether the power switch is turned on or off. So how am I going to do this? I'm going to plug this in and just look for any explosions and smell for any smoke and just hope this is in the off position. Here we go. If I drop my phone, you know why. I'm running to the rescue of fire. Okay, let's see. Do we have anything going on here? Do we hear a transformer? No? Okay. So I'm guessing the power's actually off, so that's a good thing. Okay. If anything bad's going to happen, it's going to be the transformer or the power supply. It's the only thing really in the equation. Oh, I guess the varistor and filter box back there. are part of the equation, but this is the moment of truth. 3, 2, 1. Okay, just waiting to see if anything explodes. We have our AC voltage for lighting on the coin door. So that is a good start. All right. Next thing we got to do is test these voltages and make sure they are correct. And make sure Mr. Corey Cook at London Pinball populated this power supply correctly. I'm pretty sure he did though, but we got to triple check his work. All right, let's test these voltages. Power on. These test points on this particular board are very awkward to get to. I like the version that they're all right across the top. I think the original like that? Yeah, the original has them all right across the top. Nice and easy to access. And I think even maybe a different replacement version has them nice and easy, but I'm gonna have to fight my way to these test points. But let's see what we got. All right, test point 1 is supposed to be, where is it? 54 volts DC. All right, can you see that? No. All right. Okay, test point 1 right here. Oh, it says actually right on the board what it's supposed to be. I like that. Okay, it's printed so small, I definitely need my glasses for it. And my big head might be in the way a bit too, but I'll try not to. Okay, that is supposed to be 6.3. Good start. Can you see? Yep, okay. And this is test point for 6.3 volts AC. Looking good there. And what do we got here? 43 volts DC. That's looking good. Test point 3 is way in this bottom corner. Oh my god, don't do that. Oh my god, imagine the playfield came down there and smashed me in the head. That would be the end of me. Okay. That is awkward. 14 volts. It's hard to read what that's supposed to be. Test point 3, we'll just look at the paperwork for that. Test point 3, yep, 11.9, so that's good. And did I miss anything? Point that one we got, that one, that one. So 1, 2, 3. Oh wait, I don't think we did this one. Display voltage 177. That's supposed to be 230, but I think that is okay. Once it's, how does this work? Once it's under load? No, once it's under load, doesn't it get lower? Anyway, I think that's going to be fine. What does the paperwork say for that display voltage? 43 volts, 7.3, 54, 11.9. Where'd the display voltage go? Let's see. Oh, here, 230 volts. Test point 2, 230 volts. So I'm just going to go with the 177. I think it's fine. But anyway, this is all good news. I can start working my way towards the back box now. So the next thing I'll do is probably assemble the head. No, maybe I'll pull out the solenoid driver board and kind of do a couple tweaks to that. And then once I feel like it's in good shape, we can pop it in and connect that, which is the next kind of thing in the power train. So that's where I'll end this episode, because it's probably a fairly long one, but it is a good checkpoint to end. And then in the next episode, we'll work our way down the power train. So thanks for watching.